同学们，大家晚上好。我们今天的海外研究生院校云分享会活动呢，现在就要正式开始了。在我们的今天的直播当中呢，我们非常荣幸的请到了 Fordham University Gabler School of Business 美国福特汉姆大学加贝利商学院，以及 Suffolk University 美国萨福克大学，还有 Glion Institute of Higher Education 格里昂酒店管理学院的3位招生官老师为我们带来今天这场干货满满的分享会活动。在今天的直播当中呢，同学们不仅可以了解到每所大学不同优秀的专业和项目，也可以了解到海外学习生活和工作的真实面貌。接下来呢，我们将依次邀请各大学的招生官老师逐一上台，每所大学将会有15分钟的时间介绍自己的学校。我们也会在活动中间呢向大学提问我们收集到的大家最感兴趣的一些问题。这些问题主要包括了国外的学习、工作还有生活这3个方面。当然同学们呢，如果有我们也非常欢迎大家向我们这些经验丰富的招生官老师提出属于你们自己的问题。好了，那么话不多说，我们将有请第一所大学的招生官老师上场，他是来自 Suffolk University 美国萨福克大学的 Scott 老师。 Let's welcome Scott.
Good morning. All right, let's get going. So, hi everybody, I'm Scott, and I'm a graduate admissions counselor for Suffolk University, located in Boston, in the United States. So let's go to the next slide, please. So some information about Suffolk. It is a mid-sized institution right in the heart of Boston. We're right in downtown. In terms of graduate students, we have about 1,200, and we have a large international student population, with the majority of those students coming from China. So you will not be alone when you're on campus. And we also have a significant number of women in our program, more than you tend to find, particularly in business school programs. When it comes to our faculty, we have many faculty that are active practitioners, so either consulting or still working in the field. And being able to learn from them has been, speaking personally, has been very helpful. And when it comes to getting a job, that's really when those faculty are able to help you out. So next slide. In terms of accreditation, we are nationally and regionally accredited, and the important accreditation to keep an eye out for as you are looking at schools, particularly business schools, is the Aacsb Accreditation, which is the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business, and it's an international accreditation. About 300, a little less than 300, I believe, schools have this accreditation in the world, so we are very proud of it, and we think it speaks to our ability to teach to an international, through an international scope. So next slide. So just so you have an idea as to where Boston actually is, this is the Northeast United States. And you can see it's a train ride from New York City and then an additional hour on the train to Washington, D.C. So this is a very hot area. There's a lot of capital, a lot of the major firms in the world, Big Four accountancy firms, different financial firms all have offices in Boston. So keep that in mind as you're looking at schools. Next slide. So this is actually downtown Boston, and each of those buildings with a small yellow dot on top of it is a Suffolk building. So we are woven into the fabric of the city. You can see the financial district is about a 12-minute walk to campus. So you would be in class with many of those part-time students working at these larger institutions and smaller. Some of them hiring managers already, and getting to work with them in class on projects creates really organic networking abilities. And next slide. So as I mentioned, there is quite a bit of capital ready to be invested in Boston. So if you're interested in startups or any finance, it's a great spot. You can see San Francisco obviously is getting quite a bit of investment on the West Coast, but with MIT and Harvard right across the river from us in Boston, we have all the funds that you could possibly want to play around with and or to fund your own venture. Next slide. So when it comes to Suffolk's pedagogy and our teaching method, experiential learning is at the base of it. So ensuring that you get practical hands-on experience through the form of flash consultancy projects. So in class, working with live firms, usually furnished by those faculty and their connections in the field. And also internships and practicums. Being right in the middle of the city, it makes sense for us to leverage that location so that you can roll up your sleeves and get that practical experience. It's global in scope. As I spoke about, we have that Aacsb Accreditation, and over 50% of our faculty in the business school are international. So ensuring that you can overcome those linguistic and cultural barriers is very important as well. And it's outcome based. It's focused on what your ultimate career goal is. Not being a massive school, we are able to really help individualize your experience. So with robust career services, getting to know your faculty closely is a major part of it as well. So we can go ahead to the next slide, please. So Boston is a great city. It has an amazing size. So you can walk across it in about half an hour, 45 minutes. But it still has all the trappings of a big city and all the benefits of a big city. So our major business clusters are technology, finance, and healthcare in Boston. And the intersection of each of those actually creates another cluster. So financial technology and biotechnology are major industries here. So if you're interested in any of that, Boston's going to be a great fit for you. And we can go to the next slide, please. So we have many programs. I've spoken a lot about the business school, but we have a College of Arts and Sciences as well, and a law school, which is what we were founded as. So you can see a non-exhaustive list here. And we also offer dual degrees, which I'll get to in a minute. So next slide, please. So the MBA program, just highlighting some of those benefits. We do travel seminars, again, that experiential learning. So you go to London for finance, Germany for general consulting, Las Vegas for marketing. China, I believe, is a general consultancy trip as well if you want to go back home for your trip. Singapore, Brazil, and we're constantly updating these. And then also concentrations. We have 16 concentrations. These are some of the more popular ones. And the MBA can be done within a calendar year, depending on your undergrad education. For most students, it takes 3 semesters, so a year and a half, unless you want to do summer courses, which is totally one way to accelerate your program. Next slide. So those dual degrees that I was speaking about, these are just the MBA dual degrees. There's also a business analytics and marketing dual degree, business analytics and finance, accounting and taxation. So very customizable again. And I like to highlight these because several of our programs are STEM designated. So when you do the dual degree, it only takes an additional semester of full-time study and allows you to get an additional 2 years of OPT and not need sponsorship to work in the country. So that's usually a good, if you're interested in any of these functional areas, it's good to look into. Next slide, please. So in terms of applying to Suffolk, we operate on a rolling basis. So we do not have hard rounds for the majority of our programs. The main date to keep in mind is that July 15th deadline, and that's for international students. Of course, the earlier the better, so that you can get your visa appointment. We issue I-20s at admission, not at deposit. So once you're in, we start that process so that you can get your visa appointment as quickly as possible. And it takes about 2 weeks to get your decision once you have submitted a complete application. Next slide. So things that we require, it's a pretty standard application, pretty straightforward. We don't make you jump through too many hoops, which I appreciate. So the GRE and the GMAT is not required. The one thing to keep an eye on are those English language test scores on the right-hand side. We do accept Duolingo. I think that is the easiest and cheapest way to send your scores to us and check that box. And most of our programs only require 1 letter of recommendation. Of course, you can submit up to 3. So don't feel limited, but don't feel like you have to get 2 or 3 letters. And next slide, please. So when it comes to financial aid, similar to the application process, we do not make you jump through hoops in order to qualify or see your aid package. It's actually included in your decision letter should you be admitted, and those packages can reach up to 50% off of tuition. So they can make a big difference, and many students qualify for that. It does not have an incredible threshold to overcome. So I encourage you, apply, see what your aid package is, because it can make a significant difference. And then make your decision from there. And next slide. All right, so wrapping us up. Yeah, I cannot say enough good things about Boston. I've lived here my whole life, but I haven't realized how great of a city it is until I've left and went around the world traveling for this position. But really robust history, great food, and that includes Chinese food. Really parks all around. Again, it's a small city with everything you could want in a big city. So with that, I think the next slide wraps us up. Awesome. So I encourage you to send me an email. We can meet one-on-one to discuss how Suffolk fits into your plans. I'm happy to waive your application fee for attending this session. So yeah, absolutely be in touch.
All right, thanks for your awesome sharing. And so now we're going to jump right into the Q&A session, and we do prepare some different questions. So this time we're going to ask about more like culture and campus life, some kind of these questions. So the first one is, the first question is a fun thing to do inside and outside of the camps. Could you please like introduce 1 or 2?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a rich history in Boston, and we have something called the Freedom Trail, which is literally bricks laid into the city that you walk along and are able to see all of these older colonial era buildings. certainly not as old as much of what you have in China. But for us, it's old. So there's that. There's both history and also there's quite a few. We have a lot of music venues. So if you like live music, right on campus is an old theater called the Orpheum Theater, and there's great shows there. They tend to be smaller because of the age of the city, but it creates a really nice environment for listening to music, and there's quite a few of those. And then, of course, all the food, great restaurants within walking distance of campus as well. So, and then one other thing for outside, the parks, Boston Common and the Boston Gardens, they're right next to each other. One has a bunch of flowers and lakes right in the middle of the city. So setting up for a picnic right after class or before class is really nice as well.
That's awesome. And next question is like, does the students live there gonna cost like a lot of money? Because if they rent a house in there, and the food and the rent that's there, it's like per month. Is that expensive to live or not?
Great question. And Boston is expensive. It's an expensive city to live in. Mm-hmm. The caveat to that is because our campus is so centrally located, as long as you get off of a public transportation subway system, which there are 4, you can get to campus within 15 to 20 minutes. So many students, and myself included, live a 20-minute T ride or subway ride, we call it the T, away. And we're able to live more affordably. We're not in downtown where it's very expensive, and still get to campus and be in Boston, essentially. So yeah, absolutely, it's expensive, but there are ways around it. And we have an off-campus housing office to help you get roommates, to help you find affordable housing, that are dedicated to just helping you find housing. So you're not alone in your search.
That's great. Okay, so the last question the students ask, like, in our campus, do we have like traditional festival and the students can celebrate together? Some kind of this festival?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have several groups on campus, quite a few, be it different demographic, different programmatic, so an accounting club, and there's also a Chinese students club, there's an international students club, and they're constantly doing events. And that's one thing I miss about being on campus, is walking through and just seeing, an event going on. We're very active when it comes to that. We encourage students to get involved. We have some great support to help students start a club or get involved if they want to. So absolutely, we do have different parties and gatherings throughout the year.
Sounds awesome. Okay, so today is all for your session today, and thanks so much for you can come here, and we hope see you next time. Have a nice day.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.
Take care.
好，非常感谢 Scott 老师为我们带来的精彩的分享。然后接下来呢，我们将要有请到下一所学校的招生官老师上场，他是来自，稍等啊，他是来自 Glion Institute of Higher Education 格里昂酒店管理学院的 Harold 老师。Let's welcome Harold.
Hello.
Oh, that's working.
Can you see me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, sorry, we came across some technical difficulties. Took me some time to resolve them, but I think that we're now good to start. Thank you.
No worries, you can just start it.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for making the time today. I'm here to present a Glion Institute of Higher Education, as you introduced before. So for us to be in the same, page, Glion is an institution that is centered around hospitality and experience management, right? So we offer a variety of PG programs revolving around hospitality, business management, and experience management. So next slide, please. Well, next slide. This is just a view of the school, from the school. All right. So we have most of our operations at headquarters and placed in Switzerland, right? So we have a couple of different campuses, and what we offer is a combination of both, right, academic and life experience. So first off, I think that for the students, for your purpose, the audience, life in Switzerland is an extremely beneficial experience, for both professional personal purposes, right? So you see some features about Switzerland, how amazing it is in terms of like sightseeing. It's in the central, in the heart of Europe. So you can actually go to any of these major cities, Milan, Paris, in 2 hours, in between 1.5 and 2 hours. It has amazing, restaurants and also a lot of, most of the renowned luxury and hospitality brands are based in Switzerland. Next one, please. So in terms of like campuses, we have a platform comprising 3 different campuses. We have 2 campuses in Switzerland. So they are located in the French-speaking part of Switzerland. One is at the Glion campus. The other one is the Bull campus. And we have a complementary campus in the UK, in London, which is the colonial classical building that you see on the corner. Next slide, please. So this is one of the campuses, the one located in Glion, which is nested in these mountains in the Alps and overlooking the lake. This is basically the main campus. Next slide, please. Then we have a view of the second campus, which is located 45 minutes train from that other campus. It's in a town called Bull, and it's also a very traditional town. It's a small town. Located to a very famous town called Gruyere, which is where you get all this famous cheese, right? This landmark. Next slide, please. And this is a view of the campus in London. So it's a very traditional building. It's located 45 minutes away from the city. And here we have a combination of both undergrad and postgraduate, students. Next one, please. Next one, I'll probably just go back to this one if I get time. Next. All right, so we have in the master's program offering, we have 4 courses, right? So one is focused on hospitality business for people that are interested in pursuing a career in hotel groups or luxury groups. Then we have another master that is totally specialized in luxury management, that is more focused on retail and travel retail luxury. Then we have another one that is centered on innovation and entrepreneurship. And we have the newest one, which is the real estate and finance master's degree, which focuses on the real estate part, how to basically generate revenue out of, real estate. Next slide, please. So these are, the 4 courses at a glance. We actually put the slide here in Chinese so you can have more context about what they're about. I'm going to go into more detail in the next slide, please. So this is the first one, which is the traditional master in hospitality business, a combination of both hospitality, practical learning, and business management. So you see that there are a lot of opportunities for you to, experience rather than just classroom sessions. So we have workshops, we have live projects, we have business trips, and we have internships. And all of them are actually part of the experience that Glion provides. Next one, please. So this is the one in luxury management. The composition, the structure is very similar. What changes is the focus of the practical courses. Of course, the outline of the program is focusing on luxury, but the setup, the framework that we use for all the masters is the same. Next one, please. not for the sake of repetition, but this is pretty much, a consistent offering across all masters. One important thing about our programs is that we offer really interesting experiences outside the classroom. So a lot of these business trips, they happen in very interesting cities such as New York, Milan, Dubai, Paris, depending on the area, right? So when we talk about luxury, most of them are concentrated in Europe. But if we talk about real estate, we go to the real estate capital of Dubai, or we go to the US. And along the same lines, we'd also try to do the same for innovation, right? Concentrating in innovative cities like Berlin or Silicon Valley for the trips. Next slide, please. And this last one is probably the most kind of like, I would say, on regular course for hospitality, but in the end, it's something that is really connected to the spirit and the sense of what we do, which is basically trying to generate benefits, wealth, and revenue out of pieces of land, right? Real estate. So this is a combination of both, of the operation part, the administration part, and the finance part. So you can actually get into that very specific niche, market niche, which is full of opportunities nowadays. Next slide, please. All right, so those are some examples of the career paths and employment opportunities that you can go through after completing the program. Another important point about Glion is that we have a very strong career services department. We are ranked as number 1 in terms of career reputation for employers. We have been building these relationships for more than 60 years. So we have very high level connections with luxury brands, hotel brands, and all these employers that are actually recruiting on a yearly basis from our programs. Next slide, please. Those are some certifications that is important for us, to put up front. So the QS ranking, we're also part of the Qna Accreditation system, which is one of the most reputables in the world. We're also part of the UN WTO, which is one of the most prominent organization in terms of tourism and leisure in the world, amongst others. Next slide, please. This is another point that cements the career opportunity, right? So we have an extremely powerful network across the world, coming from the alums as well as the academia, because our professors and the academia is also very, very well connected in terms of industry and projects, right? So a lot of the professors, they have their own companies, or they also have a lot of experience and a very extended network in the industries. Important point there, 98% of students actually get a job within after graduation, which is already very, 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 very compelling. Next point, please. Next slide. Sorry. So in terms of the internships, again, it's one of the advantages. You would be able to select, destination and employer. We're going to work together with you. So our career services, you will have a career services dedicated companion. I mean, someone from our school that is going to help you walking, through all the opportunities and selecting the best option for you in your internship. Next slide, please. I think that we can skip this one. Next slide. I already spoke about this. Next slide, please. All right, so this is important. This is some of the brands that recruited from our classrooms. As I said, this is not to brag about, but we're probably one of the most powerful brands in terms of employment for the students. And we do really have a good relationship with these brands. Next slide, please. So you see there's a combination of both. There's a combination of very well-renowned brands, boutique brands that are getting into technology, brands that are pure luxury brands. So it's a very interesting, segment. It's a very interesting kind of field for people that want to, reorient their careers towards an international career profile. Next slide, please. So this is just to kind of bring in some context about where the graduates work, but it's pretty much across the world and in very prominent firms. Next slide, please. I just want to go to the So next slide. Okay, so we have 2 intakes, one in fall, one in spring. It's March and September, and the requirements are very standard. The only highlight here is probably the language challenge, or the language requirement, which is a 5.5 oral and IELTS. and there are some equivalents that you can see in terms of like, you know, TOEFL. And we can also look at some more options depending on like the market, but those are the most, you know, kind of like the most accepted ones, right? In terms of the age, it's 21 years by the time you start a program, and the process is very smooth. Next slide, please. So those are the steps. You just have to submit the application. There's an interview. There's a step where you have to file, you know, all your documents. Then after the interview and receiving your documents, we're going to evaluate and send you the acceptance. And then we're going to start, you know, with this pre-arrival support that includes the preparation for the visa and the pre-departure events, right? And then, you know, we plan for your arrival at campus and accommodation. From the moment you finish your application to the moment you get the acceptance, it could take up to 3 weeks, right? So normally we turn it around in 2 weeks, but, you know, to be on the safe side, we normally set expectation at 3 weeks for you to complete the whole process. Next slide. I think that on that note, I mean, this is an overview of the fees, but we can get into detail if you want to look into this. I don't think it's kind of like, you know, more level, kind of like detail. And again, just to recall the most important points, it's a very legendary institution. It's been in the market for more than 60 years. We have a very powerful network. We have a very sharp and I would say, you know, very capable career services department that is going to help you finding a job. And another important thing is that we have a very well-renowned brand in what we do, right? So those are the advantages. Aside from the fact that Switzerland is an excellent place for you to have experience if you're a student at the heart of Europe and benefiting, you know, from all the infrastructure and the advanced, you know, technologies and economy that a place like Switzerland has. I think that we can end on that note and then go to the questions. If you
the last page is the QR code on the bottom of the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, so basically that's the direct link to the WeChat account, the group, and then in that WeChat account you can actually go to the application site. So it's kind of like self-explanatory, but we also have someone in China that could help you, you know, through the process.
That's great. Okay, so now we're gonna jump right into the Q&A session, and here I already have one question. The student asked, "What should I do if my language score didn't meet the requirement?"
We could provide some assistance, right? So we'll have to evaluate a case. We can provide some internship, so a couple like sessions for you to level up, and then we also have language programs, right? So for example, if you want to join the September intake, you could come 2 months before, 1.5 months before to be exact, and take a 4-week language course, right? So if you have anything in between 5 and 5.5, we can give you that option, right? So we can give you acceptance with a condition, and then when you clear the course, then you will get a full acceptance.
All right. Okay, so the next question is here is a student said, he or she said, he or she majored in accounting as an undergrad. Is this student qualified to apply to in our camp?
Yes, it is. I mean, what we evaluate for people that want to change career or career changers, as we call them, is more about like the mindset. If they're really aligned to the hospitality mindset, we have a lot of people coming from, you know, the business fields, accounting, finance, business management, that want to reorient their careers and do something a little bit more fun, a little bit more fulfilling. So we do take into account these profiles and we help them. And that's what the interview is for, right? To figure out, you know, whether personalities align to what we seek in students and whether they will have any challenges, major challenges or problems when adapting to our environment. So we look at students on a case-to-case basis, and then we try to help as much as we can if they have a strong desire to join the hospitality industry.
Fantastic. Okay, so the last question is how about the transportation around the campus and to the large cities?
Transportation is excellent. You'll be very surprised with what you see in Switzerland. I mean, in terms like trains and the public transportation is state of the art. So also our schools, we have shuttles like going to the towns, because a lot of students after the second, third semester, they choose to live outside the campus. So we have shuttle buses coming to the other cities. There's a very nice middle-sized city called Montreux, which is 10 minutes from Glion. And we have a shuttle bus like coming back and forth from 6 a.m. to 10:30 p.m. every day, right? So students can benefit from the infrastructure in Switzerland, which is really good. And also we have our own kind of like shuttle that help people, going around also from campus to campus.
All right, great. Okay, Harold, that will be all for your session today. And thanks for coming. And we hope see you next time. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. 好，非常感谢 Harold 老师为我们带来的精彩的这个分享。今天呢，非常遗憾的通知大家，我们今天Fordham University Gabriel School of Business 美国福特汉姆大学加贝利商学院的 Lawrence 老师呢，因为一些工作呢不能参加到我们的今天的临时的一些工作呢，不能参加到我们本期的这个活动当中来，我们也是非常的遗憾，不能听到 Lawrence 老师为我们带来的精彩分享。然后他也将会在下一场的直播中会和同学们在即将见面。好了，那么我们今天呢，总共就是2所学校的分享，然后现在2所学校的分享已经全部都到此结束了。因为时间的原因呢，我们没有办法呢和每一位招生官老师进行深度的沟通。我们也非常欢迎同学们去及时的下载我们的老师的 PPT， 或者是添加老师的联系方式，进行更深一步的咨询。最后，我们非常感谢大家今晚的到来，也希望同学们可以继续关注我们未来的云展活动。大家晚安，我们下次再见。